Hi, I'm Joe Scacciaferro, and this is Roadcase Stories. Okay, we all know the best stories are told hanging out on road cases, backstage, in the wings, or on the loadout decks. And as you've seen in previous episodes, our host, J3, has brought some amazing guests from those road cases. From front of house legends to mega on-stage performers, and today's no exception. When I heard about today's guest, I was effing blown away. I've been a fan of his work for years, and then I find out we have very similar taste in literature. Double bonus. Okay, I'll shut up and let J3 do his thing. J3, Wilson, Brody.
Hi. So this is Anthony Bozza. Has become, you turn around and the next thing you know, you're friends with somebody for 23 years. I mean, that's what happened to us. I met him in Tommy Lee's pool with no introduction whatsoever. And we were both from the New York area. We both loved music a lot. And it turns out he's a writer and he's writing Tommy's book. And he did Tommy Lee's book and Eminem's book and INXS and Slash and ACDC, which is imprinted on my soul. And many others. So I figured, considering his job is to tell stories, let's tell some stories.
And I'm going to say goodbye, and you'll probably see me again on the break. But when we're all done with this, I'd love to have a chat. Your world is way more exciting. All right, guys. You run, J3.
Absolutely, man. All right, see ya.
So, we made our list here. One thing that came up when we decided, hey, we're going to do this thing was I went and read your resume and boom, right at the top as well. His first record was Billy Joel. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
Not that was my first record, but the literal reason I'm in the music business is The Stranger.
Nice.
And I used to run around the living room with a tennis racket, when I was 6 and failing at trumpet. And my mother said, oh, maybe he should have a guitar instead of a tennis racket. And the rest was history. Which leads me to, I start to get a little bit of success. I end up in Tommy Lee's band. And actually we had done the first tour and everything. And I was just coming out to LA to write. And he was supposed to pick me up at Burbank, and you guys had gone out to a party and didn't pick me up. So I got a limo, and I get there, and the front door's open, and I walk in the back in the backyard where he had this huge pool, and Anthony's in the pool, and he's like, "Hey, dude, come on in." I'm like, copy that.
What's up?
He's like, "You're from New York? No way." We're like, "No way." And then, so that's how I met you. Tell me about, I guess, how you end up with Tommy in the first place, and then we can kind of back up and go through your start of your career and stuff.
Well, first, I want to show you that I wore my favorite Billy Joel shirt for you for this interview.
Hell yeah!
It's absolutely not official merch. I think somebody printed it and sold it quickly before the copyright lawyers found
Those
it.
kind of
because
merch.
It says "We didn't start the fire." It's got all the lyrics for "We didn't start the fire" on the back.
That's pretty dope.
And various items from the lyrics here, like Woodstock, Sally Ride. Anyway.
I appreciate it.
I do have a Stranger shirt too.
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
I'm going to wear this one. This one's special.
I don't have a Billy Joel shirt, and I guess that's a crime against humanity. But
get the Stranger. What a good cover. I love that
The other
cover.
thing, well, yeah, I mean, they're like, with Phil Ramone drinking a bottle of wine, like. But the other thing that happened when we hit that Billy Joel thing, I was like, oh, you know what? I got a call from the sound company, and I'm mixing Liberty DeVito tomorrow with the Billy Joel band. I was
That's right.
I was like, are you kidding me?
The Lords of 52nd Street, right?
Yeah. And they just did that big they did that big concert at Carnegie Hall too for Billy Joel, and that guy Dan Orlando, who was Billy in the band.
Yeah.
He was playing all night.
Who sounded amazing.
It's insane. He
sounded amazing.
He was Billy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. Incredible. Okay, so Tommy Lee, back to the pool,
I remember
back to the warm salt water.
There was a book. There was a book, and then I think that guy got bounced.
There was. He did. It was a guy named Lon Friend, who was a '80s metal guy. I forget the name of his
Rip
magazine,
baby.
It was. There you go. All '80s hair metal. So Tommy, as you know, working with Tommy's like an immersive guy when he's creating, and he wants everybody in. So I guess what happened there, not to talk too much crap, but I don't care because he said some nasty things about me. I've heard to people. But I think Lon moved in with Tommy, and I think lost the plot quite a bit, and was I think the guy was like going through a divorce and
it was a bad spot.
As someone who's been through that, it's terrible. But I think he kind of really lost the plot and was being incredibly unprofessional, and he literally got bounced. So I think he was like intercepting calls from management, just like I don't know what he was trying to get going on there.
Sabotage.
It didn't work.
Sabotaging himself.
Oh
my goodness.
Yeah, it backfired. So I got that job. I had written my first book, which is the Eminem bio, and wanted to get a new agent. I was like, as often in all the businesses, the first agent you get isn't always the best.
Shocker.
And so I was meeting with a new one who I knew through someone I used to work with and all that. But anyway, he was like, listen, I think I have something for you, but you need to come in and I would need you to sign with the agency before I even tell you who it is.
Wow.
So that was smart. I had the meeting and they're like, it's Tommy Lee. Do you want to like go to LA and write with Tommy Lee? And I was like,
I'm busy.
Yeah,
I'm busy.
Of course. Yeah. It's like busy doing nothing. So that's how that started. And, it was funny because I'd interviewed Tommy at Rolling Stone for a Q&A, which he has absolutely no memory of. We talked about it, which, makes sense.
What are you talking about?
I think one of the quotes in it was he was on a press tour and he said he was convinced that his urine was 98% Grey Goose at the time.
I mean,
which also truthful.
That's a pretty
truthful
good
of Tommy
amount.
back in the day.
That's a good percentage.
Yeah. That was one of the quotes in the Q&A. But yeah, I didn't know him. Beside that, and I had never done a co-write before, so it's very, I'd done my Eminem thing is it's like an authorized biography. So they were, and they participated, but it was like not an official thing where he was, it was kind of this. It was actually pretty smart, like M's management. Not to digress too much, but they were kind of like, Paul Rosenberg was kind of like, listen, someone's going to do, the think piece on Eminem, so we'd rather have it be you.
Yeah.
What can we give you to make sure it's like the best one? So it can that can be the one. So that's what I'd done. So that was still me kind of being, a journalist on the other side of the divide, right? And this was the first time jumping over into, being on the same team creatively as the artist. And co-writing's a whole other thing, which I've learned.
I mean, that kind of became your thing for a minute. Was you got all of these with the Tommy book? It just sort of snowballed after that. It's a lot of.
It hasn't. Yeah,
I was like, you're doing what?
Still is. Yeah, it just hasn't really stopped. You know, I've had like other things that I've done here and there, but it's. I really peaked at the. I started doing that at the time when those. Music biographies really became the thing, and it was awesome. And I sort of just went from one to another every time. I was like, oh, this year I'm gonna do these other things that I've always had in the desk drawer. I'd get a call that was like, yeah, of course I'm gonna do Slash's book, let's go. And then it's that's, and they take like 6 months. It's like at least, if
it's your
not
whole
more.
life you're like living there. I mean, that's let's back.
So in that way, it's like being on the road.
Yeah, it's all totally. So let's back up. If you can give a brief sort of how you, I mean, it's in the resume, but what made you want to do this? How you get to Rolling Stone and writing real stuff, and then to books, because we know we'll get into the book thing too. But those are really different worlds, as you were saying.
They are, yeah. I mean, I didn't go to journalism school. I studied history and, history of Africa and the Middle East, like of all things. My father, who's a physician, was like, what the F am I spending this money on? He couldn't stand it. He was like, what is wrong with this kid? But I was like, I'm a word guy. I was like, he was very disappointed that I didn't want to be like a doctor just like him. But I'm really bad with math. I'm really good with words. I have a very lopsided brain. And I wanted to be a lawyer like my grandfather, who was like my hero. So that was kind of always the goal. That was kind of where I was going. And it's really funny. I just finished Cameron Crowe's memoir, like one of my absolute heroes that I got to interview. But he was on the same track. His mother was like, wanted him to be like his paternal grandfather, who's a lawyer. And that's what I always thought I was going to do. So, I was doing kind of liberal arts and really liked it. And I loved academia. Like, I'm an absolute research nerd. Like, I am, if you need to know something about something and I'm your friend, just ask me to like figure it out. I will do a deep dive and give you all the best. Like if you're buying a piece of gear or like, like not gear like you guys have, but like, home audio, like all my friends are like, I need speakers and this, I'm like, got it. But and other stuff, like I just love researching. I was the kid who I had a paper due in college and I'd be like, amazing. Like I just immersed myself in a subject and loved it. It's a form of escape, it's like, kind of going down a rabbit hole. Definitely has to do with like attention deficit and stuff. But anyway, so I really loved all of that and was really into it. So I thought I was either going to go to law school or become a professor, like specialize in something. I loved the whole college thing, teaching, all that stuff. So that's kind of where I was going.
Which is interesting because knowing you this long, I would never have guessed that when I met you. Like that whole slice. I have no way. I actually didn't know anything. Like we just kind of started and went. I wasn't like, hey, so how'd you, Well,
the first 48 hours of our friendship was like nonstop.
Utter chaos.
It was like it was like that movie Go or something. It was just
one of the best
like,
stories.
It didn't stop. We'll get that. There. We'll get there. So that's kind of the track I was on. My family, a bunch of stuff happened in my family that was pretty traumatic. So after college, I was kind of taking I moved to Boulder, Colorado, because I love skiing and stuff, to just figure it out after this, and a bunch of events happened that drew me back sooner than I thought, which is probably for the best, because I would have never left.
Would have been ski bum forever. Yeah.
Yeah, like writing novels and poems and being the guy at the ski mountain.
At the open mic at the après ski scene. Yeah.
Maybe. That sounds pretty cool, though. I think I would have liked it. So some, sort of family trauma stuff drew me back to New York and where I was going to be staying. Like I wasn't going to be able to jet out of there soon. So I just started to get internships. And I basically applied for the internship at Rolling Stone for the music department and was late. My application I had missed the deadline for they do it like 3 times a year. So I'd missed it. So I was accepted for the next round, which is in, 4 or 5 months or something like that. So Kurt Cobain killed himself. You guys heard about that. And so, right. So the books division, Rolling Stone used to have their own publishing division. Yeah. They had to get a tribute book out quickly, and they sort of grabbed the stack of the 5 interns that were going to be in the next thing, and gave us the option to do that. A couple of them didn't do it. I decided to do it. So I got into the books department, which was a way better situation because after I was on staff and had interns, they didn't do shit. They basically collected. I mean, this is how long ago it is. This would seem wild to people, but they would go through the newspapers, all the current papers of the day, and clippings of what was current events relating to what we would need to know, and present these packets. And that's what they spent most of their day
cutting
on,
stuff
unless they got tagged.
Wow.
Yeah, and photocopying and dropping them off at all the editors by 11 a.m. And then if they got tagged for a special project, great. Otherwise, that kind of ended up being the internship.
Wow.
Whereas like in the books division, I was like digging up every single reference to Nirvana and all the interviews we'd done, contacting the writers. I worked on the Encyclopedia of Rock and Roll, which is the second edition of it. So all of the entries need to be updated. So people they couldn't find, they'd be like, "Can you try to track this person down?" So I like found Giorgio Moroder's manager in Rome and like did an interview with him to update it. And I was like, I just like, oh, thank you for making I Feel Love.
You're
That
a
was like
maniac.
the greatest disco song ever, you know? Like Kim Fowley, like all like random people like that. I got to talk to
Movers
him.
and shakers at the. I mean,
Yeah, like the
People
ones.
that make
Yeah,
that
exactly.
happen. Yeah.
So that's how I got my like taste for it. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
I like love, you know, calling up these people and talking to old school writers and having them update their entries and stuff like that. So that was my sort of taste of it. And then, you know, when I was an intern, I went to college in Chicago at Northwestern, and the Smashing Pumpkins were like my, you know, home court band. They were just starting. I was there in the early 90s. I saw them before they had Jimmy Chamberlain.
Wow.
They had drum beats recorded on a boombox that Billy put a mic down to. And I once met him, and he was like holding chord and was kind of like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I saw you at Lounge Acts when you were playing drum beats out of a boombox. And he was like, and then he started talking to me for the rest of the night. It was great. But like, so I was the Pumpkins were my band. I love them. And this writer, Chris Mundy, did a cover story in the Pumpkins, and I was so excited. I got the early copy, and I took the train back to my parents' house, and I fucking fell asleep reading it because it was so boring.
Oh my God.
And I was like, this is horrible. And I was like, I can do
What
that.
not to do?
I can do that better than that.
Yeah.
And that sort of like got me into this like, you know, pig-headed determination that I'm not going to leave this place until I do a cover story.
Yeah.
And it took a while to get there, but
What
that's
was
just what I
Eminem
did.
the cover story?
That was
And
the
how
cover
like
story.
he's pretty notoriously like hard to even interview, right? So like, how did you do that?
Yeah, well, that was that was in '99. So he was like full Slim Shady mode. When we did the interview, he was My Name Is was all over MTV. It was played like
Huge.
every
Yeah,
hour.
it was blowing up.
Yeah, massive. But he was still operating. You know, he had his manager Paul Rosenberg, who was like. I think he was like basically an ambulance chaser, personal defense attorney in Detroit before meeting him. The only two white guys in the scene out there. And it was very racial then. People don't realize that now.
Yeah.
It was a racial divide. It really was. And so, you know, their operation was still like, you know, rickety.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they were kind of doing. So, and he was a wild man. He was taking ecstasy all the time, and you know, taking Vicodin for hangovers.
Oh
He was
God.
just that guy. He was not made up. So, you know, he was the first 24 hours. So basically, I had to go with them around New York to do a bunch of follow him to a bunch of little club things that they had arranged for him. You know, before there was any
anything.
idea that this record was going to do
like
shit.
these little.
Like he was doing
Little disco
he was doing
bars.
like 3 songs. Exactly. He was doing like 3 songs at
Oh my God.
this one hip hop night that was like like very black. And then he was doing another at Life, which was like this after a fashion-y thing in the after hours. Everyone didn't know what that was. And then the other thing was a Sweet 16 in Staten Island for some definitely mobbed up guy.
There it is.
Who had this for his daughter in a theater, like not a movie theater, but like a small one. And that was absolutely bananas, out of control. Like kids mobbing the limo. There were cops to like make sure. We had to go in through the alley. Everyone with him had to stand on the back of the stage, and then they ushered us out. And like there were kids like mobbing the street. It was crazy. So I had to do that with him, and then go to Detroit. And the whole thing was like a week, like 4 or 5 days in Detroit. And for the first 24 hours, he like didn't even speak to me. He just like, he was there with Stretch Armstrong was his DJ for the night, New York legend. And they were just popping Molly. They like, we got in the limo I tried to say hello to him, and he didn't. He just like wasn't acknowledging me. I actually walked into a bathroom and he was vomiting, which was like, oh god, it was embarrassing. He had anyway. The story can go on for a while. He was, he did his David LaChapelle cover shoot for Rolling Stone. And David LaChapelle had a very notorious, like amazing studio in the East Village. It was always like full of drag queens and skater kids and all that kind of stuff. And M had to be nude for it, like, with like a Speedo on, because the original photo shoot was that he's holding a big stick of dynamite, like, Looney Tunes style. And then you open the cover and then it blows up. So he's like naked on there, and he had never been like around that many like gay people and like drag queens and shit. So he drank like a whole fifth of Bacardi just to like
maintain,
chill. Yeah. Like it's all the things in the lyrics are real. That's what he drank. He took ecstasy all the time and he popped Vicodin. Like that was it. But I've never seen anyone do all of that and just be absolutely perfect. He rapped the whole time. He never stopped rapping.
Yeah.
Just wise ass stuff about everyone coming in the room and stuff. But the whole time I like tried to say hello, and he was just like eyeballing me and like wouldn't talk to me. And I was like, "Oh, this is my first cover story."
You were
great.
allowed to be there. It just was like a question of him, like,
totally, just being weird. He was just being him, or just like checking me out. Not being unfriendly. But there was a moment in the limo. We're on the limo. And I'm like, it's like a security guy and Paul Rosenberg, and then like me, like stuck by the door, because Paul Rosenberg is like 6'4", and the security guy, who's actually the one that wrote the tell-all book about him a few years later, him. Then on the other side of the full limo is just Stretch Armstrong and M, and they're like taking Molly and all this stuff, and we pull up somewhere, and this is the only communication we had for the first 24 hours. Like the car stops and someone knocks on the window, and I'm like, what's going on? And M kicks me really hard in the leg, and I'm like, what? And he holds his hand out, and I go like that, and he gives me a bunch of money. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing a drug deal. Got it.
Perfect.
So I put the window down, and I get a bunch of ecstasy pills and hand it over.
Maybe this can be a bridge to us starting to talk.
No thank you, no nothing, just took them. And then Rosenberg, actually, this is true because I've known them for years now. I asked him about this later. I was like, is any of this like staged for the article? He's like, we did not have the capability to do anything like that at the time. It was fun. But he basically said, he's like, great, Marshall, you literally just let the Rolling Stone reporter buy your drugs. I'm leaving. You're screwed. You're on your own. Goodbye. And he got out and was gone for the rest of the night. He just was like, screw you, you're on your own. And M, of course, started like rapping about it. He's like, hi, Paul, you're hired, you're fired. Fuck, just like doing the whole thing. It was hilarious. So that was that. By the next morning, we sat together on an airplane to Detroit, and maybe he was feeling warm and fuzzy from all the Molly. But we started talking about like, our like parents, like my parents' divorce. I don't know. We just like found some common ground before I even like started with questions and stuff like that. And then by the time we got there, he was like, I want him to interview my mom, because he never let anyone do that. I was the only guy who did that, which is a whole other thing. She used to call me all the time, and like I wouldn't tell my editors because I know that they would use it, and I would like ruin his trust. So I didn't. Like call me crying when he was like suing her for like all this stuff. But yeah, so I got to do that. It was amazing. It was like
it seems like from watching, because I got to watch a bit of you doing the book with Tommy, and we were also pretty closely in touch during Slash and INXS, and like it seemed to become your style to kind of like get into the person's life, as opposed to, so what are we going to write this book about? You're like, no, we're going to spend however many days it takes to like get right.
Yeah, I mean, that was, that was Tommy.
Yeah.
I got to credit Tommy with that. I mean, I think I have to spend some time around people. I mean, now I've done it enough in like 20
you have
years
like
that,
a method.
I probably don't have to do that as much. But back then I really wanted as much like don't notice me. I want the texture of how somebody lives and how they tell stories and what matters to them, and bring that all into it. It's not just, I've tried to tell this to lots of former colleagues who kind of just assumed that I just cut quotes together to do this. And it's not that at all. It's not. There's a lot of crappy autobiographies and co-writes and ghostwrites out there that do that. And you can tell it's just but if there's something else too, there's like a magic sauce of kind of like getting in the middle, and you have to spend enough time with the person to know like what matters to them, what word they would choose. It's not just always what comes out on tape. So yeah, but that really started with Tommy, because Tommy was, I mean,
that's how he was. That's how he was with me. It was like, you move into the house,
He's like, we're not going to do anything the regular way. That's fucking bullshit.
All right, Joe's commercial breaking us.
I got caught listening. And that's not what I'm supposed to do, but it was fascinating. Okay, yeah, we're going to take a quick break. I'm not sure if it's a 30 or a 60, but I'm going to make it a 30 because you guys this is no way this is hitting time. But
no.
I know it's tough. We tried to cut it down yesterday.
4,
We've known each other too long.
We did make a plan.
We did.
It doesn't matter.
We can move it along.
I loved it. All right, we got to go. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. J3 went, took a pee. We're back. Everybody's good. Stories are rolling. Oh, was I not supposed to say that?
Man.
I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. But that's what everybody does during a break. All right, guys.
Of course.
I'm out. See you. Bye.
Natural.
Bye.
All right.
Yeah, just the Tommy thing. I mean, like how he kind of did the same thing with me. It was like, we're it's 24/7. You're like up here, we're going to write, we're going to do this. We're going to go take the kids to, water polo or whatever's going on. It's like,
right.
It's just like, it's not usually what you expect. Like he's, and
he's all in.
And so like I'm meeting you and I know like you're kind of getting to know him and I'm like, I see what's going on here,
This guy's in it. Yeah, but that was, Tommy was incredible because he let me run with any idea.
Yeah.
So,
it's not like, whoa.
He just didn't want to. No, not at all. He didn't want anything to be the normal rock autobiography
stock rock
at all. So, but he was like, it was funny because he was like, well, I don't want to talk about Motley Crue. I'm like, you were in the band since you were 17. What else do we have to talk about? Like, you know what I mean? Come on. So, you got like creative ways of getting around that. But, he let everything happen. I have academic style footnotes in his book because they were funny. I was like, I'm putting like,
please refer to page
like Nature Channel stuff about like things in there because I was like, that sounds like something nobody would expect in Tommy Lee's book, and I treated them in kind of like the way you would in an encyclopedia. I made the thing with like the talking penis that I made.
I believe that's how the book begins.
Yeah, that was like literally. I thought of that on the plane ride out. I was like, okay. What's going to be different? The dirt is out. What's the second most thing he's famous for? I'm like, that sex tape. What if his penis argues with him about who's more famous? And I was like, okay. I didn't know how that was going to go over.
That's a great idea.
But, I didn't know how it was going to go over. And he loved it. He loved it. He loved it. I was just like, he wasn't really answering. It happened like one of the, there's a whole other story to it, but like I got there and didn't see him for the first 2 weeks.
I remember you telling you're like
never came back from a trip.
You're like, bro, I'm at your house.
I wasn't even there. I had a rental. I had a rental in Santa Monica.
Oh,
And
my
then
God.
what happened was Tommy would be like not wanting to answer questions that he didn't want to answer unless I did a shot, no matter what time it was. So I ended up never being able to
That'll
leave
jam.
because I was not going to drive down the I wasn't going to drive drunk. So I ended up staying there. And then eventually he's like, you know what, dude? I'm sick of paying your rent. You're moving in. So it's like I got rid of that place. Anyway, that's kind of how it happened. But yeah, the penis thing, I was like, God, I was trying to, when we first really sat down and did our first day of interviews, he was like, oh, I'm just going to get you some iced tea or something. And I was like, sure. And this, you'll laugh because then you know him. And especially that he was full party, Tommy.
Yes, sir.
So he came out with a big ice chest with like iced tea and then 2 bottles of vodka. Like you'd get like bottle service
like
at a club.
Rolling it in.
He like brought like the 2 bottles are perfect. It was ice all around and then like 2 different flavors of iced tea. He's like, I don't know. The vodka was just in there with iced tea, man. Here, would you like some? I'm like, oh God. Okay. So, I mean, that particular day, I'm starting to be very professional. I have like my notebook out. This is my first co-write. So I, was still kind of like trying to stick to my journalistic training. And Tommy's just like looking at butterflies and not paying attention. So I finally go, yeah, and there's someone I'd think it's important to interview, and I think that should be your dick, and I'd like your dick to argue with you about who's more famous. And then he looked at me, and we're sitting at his pool, and he picked up the chair I was sitting in, picked me up by the chair, and threw me in the pool. Yeah. And I was like, oh God. And I like went underwater and was like, did I just get fired?
Could be a yes.
I was like, I didn't know yet. I was like, he's either going to kick my ass or like, I don't know, he's offended. And like, he dove in with me and like, we both came up and he's like, dude, I fucking love it. This is going to be great, dude. And that was it. And it was like off to the races. So anything I suggested within reason, when we got into the editorial process, I had the manuscript back. And again, this is like still doing things with like colored pencils and stuff. And I had notes from our editor who was like a very stuffy British guy. And he was like, wait, what's that Post-it note? What does this guy mean? What do we mean? And he started getting all annoyed. So then I started integrating notes from Tommy arguing with the editor into the book. So we have like the penis interrupts, Tommy's interrupting. We're making fun of the guy who ended up quitting before it was over.
Oh my God.
It just went on and on. But like we got it all in there. We had a whole photo insert that we couldn't do some of because it was like copyright violations, but it just became this incredibly fun thing. And it was like 9 months of living in Tommyland. And I survived is all I have to say. You know how it is. Or how it was.
Should we, since this is how we met, should we try to fit this story in?
I mean, let's try to. I don't know if we can do it in a speed round, but because it could take, it's like this is a whole show. I mean, because it really is 48 hours
its own show
of complete madness.
All right,
like you didn't know what was.
Let's pin that. That'll be like madness. Part 2.
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong. Still on at the house thing. Was the Jäger Cappuccino created in our presence during that?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. I thought it was. I wrote it down.
Yes,
He's like, you know what? Yes. It's like we've been drinking for I went out there to write we're going to work on some songs and some of my stuff because he ended up putting some of my stuff on his later record. And we were just there to screw around. And we were just like drinking and we're really hungover. Like this is day 2 or 3. He's like, you know what would be really good? He made these really strong cappuccinos, like a soup bowl of cappuccino. Like there you go, that'll get you going.
Well, he bought all the same equipment as the Starbucks down the hill from him because the nearest thing was like a ride down a canyon. It wasn't like an easy drive. No. So anyway, he basically was like, can I order it? He basically got the thing can I buy this? Starbucks in the house.
It's got like the $15,000 like Lamazza, 3-banger.
Yeah, I can make 2 at once.
Industrial espresso maker from Italy, like totally insane. He's like, he had this coffee guy come to the house. Did you ever meet that guy he would open up the trunk?
No.
He was like, it was like a drug dealer, but it was all coffee. He's like, my guy's coming. Like, shit, it's like really special shit.
Got the good shit. Ridiculous. Anyway, go ahead.
Let's bounce. We'll get back to because I.
Well, no, the Jäger.
Jäger
Cappuccino.
Sorry.
Punchline.
So it was like
the Jäger machine was next to the Starbucks setup.
Yes.
So it's full Starbucks, big thing with the beans.
The
grinder,
full like
big machine with like three
bar
nozzles.
quality.
To make, like you got.
Jaeger
When are you making 3?
Yeah, the 3 Jaeger bottles like you would have at an Irish bar
then,
in the machine, which he took on the road with
that
us.
Was next
That's
to
a
it.
whole other thing. We had that shit. We had 2 of them, one in the bus and one in the dressing room, at all times.
Wow.
And so he's,
Danger.
he's always like, we need cappuccinos. We gotta get rolling. We gotta get rolling. So he's making these. These are like,
let's get
functional. These are like quads, like, with sugar and cinnamon and the whole thing. And he's like, you know what? And he just kind of looks at the Jaeger machine and, and you're kind of looking at me like, I don't know if this is gonna be a good idea. And then we tasted it and it was great.
It's delicious. You don't need any sugar.
No, you can.
It's sweet enough.
It's like your, yep.
It was really good.
And so it was.
Yeah, for the most mornings I was there, I was like, oh, how am I going to survive this?
It just becomes a. I don't know. There was just this vodka on the iced tea cart. Like I don't know how that got there. I want to go to. I mean, really, the AC.
That's how I learned to immersively write.
There it is, which became a style. So jumping to a different style of book, and a book that I was lucky enough to be included in because of your bad self was the ACDC book. So let's tell everybody why that was different from a lot of these other books, and also sort of how it happened, because it's like one of the favorite things.
Okay.
One of the favorite things I've ever been involved in, like literally.
It was super fun. I'm going to let my dog out this
Do
door. It'll be 1 second, and then I'll get into that. Go ahead, baby. It's been sitting there patiently, like wanting to chase squirrels. Okay. So I got something that would probably not happen again. Who knows? But
once in a lifetime.
I wrote after the Slash book. I got to know my publisher well, who eventually left and became my agent for a while. Anyway, the Slash book was she was very helpful in the final stages. I got to know her very well, and like over a Christmas sort of celebratory dinner with her and an editor, I basically got a book deal to do the Why ACDC Matters. They wanted to start a series at Harper Collins that was basically sort of small books, small format, only 100 and under 200 pages.
Easy read.
Sort of long essay style from writers who were going to talk about, basically sort of reintroduce classic foundational bands to, they hoped, like a younger audience, or just make a case for them. They kind of wanted to do a series that was a bit like the 33 and a Third series that does famous albums, the making of famous albums. They just
like
wanted
a case
one point
study
of view.
of it.
Yeah, like one point of view, not a proper bio, but like a pointed, good piece of writing about why this band is great, why they're historically significant, all that kind of stuff. And they wanted to call it Why Blank Matters. So
that was
they asked me who I'd want to do. And, it was like it was when ACDC was doing like Black Ice, like 2009. And they immediately came to mind for me because, for a lot of reasons. Like I grew up, I'm old enough to have had some experience as a younger person, like me writing about the Beatles.
Yeah.
I would love to, but I feel like I should have been able to see them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them. So it'd be hearsay, So I think they were, I don't know what they were hoping for, but I think they wanted to do, they knew, there's a lot of older writers that could do like the Beatles and the Stones and Pink Floyd and all that stuff. So it made sense because of the tour, we could tie it to that. And they gave me basically agreed to the terms right there at the table. It was kind of cool. That kind of, I don't know if that stuff happens, but I don't hear about it happening much in publishing. So it was really cool. And then
carte blanche.
Well, it was just like, starting of like what would be a series, and they're like, sounds good, deal. You have a deal. It's like, oh, nice. I'll have another martini.
Am I on camera?
So, yeah, it was like that. so that book was really fun. It was, just I also want to do ACDC because being at Rolling Stone, they were a band that were shunned.
Oh yeah, Rolling Stone trashed
unfairly.
ACDC for years. Oh yeah,
Always.
God.
Yeah. And I just always never understood that. It was ridiculous because it's
Are you
like,
kidding me?
They never covered a lot of metal, but as I say over
really
and over in the book, they're not a metal band. It's not like a metal band. It's a fucking rock and roll band. So I never really understood that. I mean, even when like Bon Scott died and Back in Black was everywhere. It was on the
Blew
Billboard
up.
charts for like a year.
The biggest record.
They
Yeah.
were
Yeah, they're like, oh,
they were a banner
footnote.
on the top
Yeah.
of a cover with a picture. So part of me was that, and I remember, I always brought them up when we do like the top guitarists
Yeah,
of
where's-
whatever. I'd always be
where's
like,
both of them?
Angus and Malcolm, either or. Can we do one of them? And I would get laughed at. So I was just like,
That's
okay,
absolutely insane.
okay, boomer. He's just like, whatever. So it was a little bit of that, me wanting to sort of take it back. And the book was really fun. I got to basically, my approach was to explain to somebody why this formula works, why it seems simple, but it's not simple, and why it's so powerful and has crossed generations.
Yep.
And essentially, they've never broken from formula, but it's all amazing. So you were incredible at breaking down the sound. Talking to you is great because you can speak to sound manipulation, recording, and guitar. So it was awesome. And I got to interview you.
And
Tommy
so
was in it. Slash was in
so-
it. It was
so,
great.
like,
I got some like professors and
You
stuff.
just called me up totally casual one day, and I'm like cleaning my bedroom, and you're like, yeah, so like I'm interviewing you. You were just like, yeah, ACDC. I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, like da-da-da-da-da. And I've said a couple things, and it turned into quite a few phone calls. I remember, and but I was really like, once I got the book, I was like, you had some pretty heavy hitters in there, Rick Rubin and Tommy. And
Yeah, got a
I
quote
think,
from Rick.
Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like in there with quotes, and I'm like, wow, like, but it's true. It's like, it's the kind of thing that, people, guitar players make fun of, like, oh, it's so easy. It's an A chord. I'm like, yeah, well, Malcolm hits one A chord in an entire measure, and it's exactly where it needs to be every single time. And you guys are out there. He's creating the groove with the drummer. It's behind the beat. It's a bass player's groove. And the bass is funkier than you think it is. Go listen to it. There's
Yeah.
So like,
Agreed.
and we also got into the whole, there's really two singers. There's really two bands, in my opinion. It's two distinct eras that are both incredible.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And different. Definitely different. Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, and I got, you were very eloquent in speaking about it. Like if, I didn't just put in those quotes because you're my buddy.
No.
Your quotes were great. And they explain it to the layman very well. Like that was my point.
Yeah. How do I
this isn't just some phenomena. Like it's so good. And Slash said it really well. He said it was like the Japanese sort of calligraphy art where it's just like one big line.
Yeah.
And he's like, that line has to be perfect.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? That's why it works.
Simple is hard. Good, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when it's brilliant,
And loud.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I don't know if I'm the only one to bring it up, but I feel like even since the earliest stuff, like once Bon was in the band, the first few records, like they came out of the chute, they were done. Like this is what it is. It's not like, oh, we take a few records to like, no. It was just like
sort it out. They knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they've never stopped. Yeah. They're amazing.
Screw the magazines.
And, I wanted it. Yeah, no, exactly. I wanted it to be like a love letter to the bands. I paid to have the design done because it looks like like a choir book, and it's kind of a leather look that's going to wear in. We got the price to be sold for $16.66, which was like. We got them to agree to sell it for that, so it says on the back. And the band let me license the logo, which they don't do ever, because they were like, they're like, we're not going to participate, but they let us do that, which is huge. We didn't have to pay for that. So it's the official logo on it, and
That's killer.
you know, I love that book. It's one of my favorite things that I've written because it's just like I just ranted on one of my favorite
Yeah.
things. Like, who doesn't like to
Yeah.
rant about their favorite stuff? It's the best.
You called the right guy.
Well,
That's
speaking
true.
of ranting, I have to stop this now. I
Time
have
to
to
go?
stop it. I don't want to
there.
stop it, but that puts us in a position that, sorry, Anthony, you have to come back because
Oh, okay.
you know, I hate building content.
My pleasure,
There's
man.
nothing. This was amazing. I both of you were just, like I said, I'm such a fan. I was just sitting back going, I remember that. I remember that. I did that. I did that. I was
Nice.
that. I did that. So yeah, you kind of flashed me back to a much better time of my life when I was deep in the music world, not in this broadcast. I better shut up. I might end my
Sponsors
broadcast
like
career pretty quickly. All right, guys, thank you. I
Oh, thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it, and definitely we're going to redo this at some point, as long as you're both okay
Yeah.
with it. But
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
we need
I
to pick
talk
up
to
a
him all
part
day.
2 of this.
Absolutely.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank
We're
you,
doing it.
Anthony.
Ciao.
You're the best.
All right, guys. Bye, guys.